This is the story of Neil Harris, Millwall's all-time record goal scorer and Lions legend. Since 1998, Neil's contribution to an eventful period in the club's history has been immense. Over the next 90 minutes, he looks back at the ups and downs of his career at the Den, and of course, all those magical goals.
I started out at the age of, I think I was 6. I started out playing for Rowley Boys, and it was a kickabout. It was fun. It was going into games, and it was just I went with friends, and it was just the enjoyment of kicking the ball. And I remember scoring goals, and certainly scoring in my first ever game. I scored controlling the ball with my hand and kicking into the roof of the net. And straight from that moment, I had the bug of wanting to play football.
Have you always wanted to be a centre forward?
I started off as a goalkeeper, wanting to be in goal, and then I moved into centre midfield. And my dad used to give me a goal bonus. It used to be £1 a goal when I was in the under-8s. And I was in centre midfield, and I think it was one of the first games we played, I got 5. And not only did it cost my dad £5, and he refused to pay it anymore, the manager said I needed to play up front. So I moved to up front, and as soon as scoring goals became regular, then there was no shift in me. It was the joy of scoring the goal and the winning the games and things like that. It was the buzz had me from a young age. Dad was a major influence in my career. Well, both parents were. Dad used to play himself Saturdays and Sundays, so when he had a game and I had a game at the same time, Mum used to take me, and it was Mum used to do the ferrying around, and she used to watch every game. But Dad was the influence, taking me to the park, the playing in the garden, the tips. I never looked for a manager. I never looked for a pat on the back from a coach or a manager. Even up to the age of, I don't know, even today, if he was with us, it would be my dad's reckoning. I remember coming off the pitch and scoring a hat-trick against Colchester Boxing Day a few years ago, and my dad said to me, "Done well today, son, but you should have scored more goals." And that to me was the kick up the bum I ever needed. I never needed a manager to give me a rollicking or tell me I played well. It was my father would do that. When I left school, it was sort of starting to dawn that what was I going to do? Would I have a career in front of me playing football? But even then, I wasn't being pushed. I'd been asked to go to Southend and Leyton Orient for sort of trial days and things like that, and been accepted at both and asked if I wanted to go along. I remember going to Orient one day. It was the first day of pre-season, and they'd asked me along, and I said, well, if I enjoy it, I'll stay. I ran round the football pitch for, I think it was 12 minutes. Then I ran up and down the terraces for 40 minutes, went inside, cleaned the bath, cleaned boots, cleaned everything from the front door to the back door with the rest of the lads. And I remember getting back in the car and saying to my dad, I don't want to go again. That's not my idea of football. And that was it. So I went off and went into the non-league scene, and it was a case of still playing with friends, but earning a little bit of pocket money. I remember my first ever pay packet at Great Wakeling Rovers was £15 with a £5 win bonus. And it was really bizarre to get paid for doing something you love so much.
It was to be some time though before Neil became a fully fledged professional footballer. More part-time football with Malden Town and Cambridge City was to follow before he reached the Lions' Den.
Before I signed for Millwall, I went to Germany twice with Bayer Leverkusen and Cologne, and saw football out there and tried out for those clubs, and could have gone to both clubs as a young lad. Went to Liverpool twice for trials and thought that I was going to sign there, and it didn't quite happen for some reason that wasn't a made to wear to me. Then it was Millwall all the way, really. That it was a straight choice between Millwall, Huddersfield, Cambridge United, Rushden and Diamonds. They was all there or thereabouts. But it was Millwall and Bob Pearson at the end of the day who made their feelings clear that they wanted me in their team and playing for their club.
I don't think Bob Pearson knew at the time that the guy he was recommending for me to sign from non-league football was going to be the next Teddy Sheringham. I mean, because Teddy Sheringham was Bob Pearson's big find. And Neil Harris came along and he told me, he said, look, I've gone to watch this guy several times and he's a box player. It was always his words, he's a box player. He's in that box and if the ball's there, he'll get it in the net. And we signed him. I think it cost us about 20, 30 grand at the time. And Billy Bonds was the manager. And we signed him on Bob's words. And the rest, as I say, is history.
When Millwall's interest came in, it was in a very bizarre circumstance. We was playing away, I believe, at Rothwell Town at the time, up in the Midlands somewhere, and Bob Pearson, the chief scout, came along, and it was one of those evenings where the goalkeeper kicked the ball out once, the ball went towards the halfway line, the wind caught it and it went all the way back out for a corner. I wasn't involved, I didn't score, it wasn't a centre forwards game. After the game, Bob Pearson came in and said, "You've got the heart and the attitude to play for Millwall, do you want to come and play? Where do I sign?" It was that simple. When I came in, my first day's training, I was up against Paul Allen, a professional I knew and watched many a time on the telly, and he kicked me all over the pitch for an hour. And I thought, welcome to professional football. These are the standards. This is the fitness levels I've got to get to.
I think when we first come across Neil, he was a bit of a chubby lad. We thought, what's Billy brought in here? And obviously Billy Bonds had left, and we saw in pre-season, gradually saw him getting fitter, stronger, and he just come alive around the box, and I think every season you saw a different Neil with his work rate. As I said again, he was getting fitter, and another thing, the goals were coming as well.
But the goal machine didn't start firing straight away, and by his own admission, he found the progression from non-league to Football League quite tough.
When I came into professional football, I was nowhere near as fit as the other lads. I was working all week. I was training once, maybe twice a week, and playing a game, or playing 2 games and maybe not training. So I was miles behind on the fitness stakes. Sort of the way of living stakes I was below everybody, and people have said to me, it's not going to happen for you straight away. You have to go away, you have to enjoy your summer, and you have to come back refreshed and look forward to a hard pre-season. And once you've done your pre-season, you're on a par with everybody else. So I played a couple of games, and the biggest problem was the sharpness for me. I was a yard behind everybody else, and it wasn't the case of, I felt out of my depth. It was a case of, I love the atmosphere, I love being part of the dressing room, I love playing in a fantastic stadium. Next year I want to do this, I want to be better, and I want to force my way into the team.
Obviously I was seen as one of the senior players to turn up, but obviously Neil would come through the youth, the non-league circuit, and which ain't a bad thing, because I think you're looking now, and them sort of players seem to be more hungry when they do get a chance of playing, and them circles, what he'd been in, I think made him more hungry to achieve what he did, and we saw that as soon as he got into the side, and obviously that come around, and I think with it as well, he was a down-to-earth kid, and I think playing in front of the crowd that he did, he warranted more, and he wanted it more as well.
Bob Pearson was convinced that once he settled down, you're right, he took a few games to settle down, but my God, when he did settle down, he went off like a rocket.
My first go on professional football, it's really a point prover to yourself, to everybody else, to the fans, to the manager, to your teammates, more than anything, to prove that you belong on the same stage as them at that level of football. It was a fantastic feeling. It'd been a few games I hadn't scored. I knew I'd played well and I'd been involved in goals and set goals up, but to score the first goal, to see that ball hit the back of the net in the environment of professional football at the new Den, with 7,000 people there, is fantastic. It was a feeling that it felt the same scoring that goal as it did scoring my first goal when I was 6 years of age for Rayleigh Boys. It's a feeling that gives me the same satisfaction today as it did back then. But that was the one that proved a big point and sort of set the ball rolling.
That season, of course, was memorable for the fact that Millwall, for the first time in their history in a recognised competition, got to Wembley. You, in your first season playing professional football, got to do what many players never achieve in a whole career.
I look back at that season, I think, I played at Wembley. I played at the old Wembley, the real Wembley. And nothing can ever take that away from me. That was a fantastic experience. I'd been to Wembley many a time as a boy growing up, watching England, watching cup finals, and to have actually walked out that tunnel, played on that pitch in front of 50,000 Millwall fans was an experience second to none. It was one of the worst games of football I've ever played in, but it was one of the best parties I've been at afterwards. It was a fantastic occasion. It topped off a great year for us. So many players coming through in the team, so many young players coming in. You saw Timmy Cahill's, Stephen Reed's, Paul Eiffels, Richard Sadlier's. You're coming through playing professional football, and for me personally, to score 18 goals that season and to play at Wembley, it was the icing on the cake, really.
So not a bad first full season for Chopper, and he really began to find his goal-scoring feat in season 1999-2000 as Keith Stevens and Alan McCleary started to assemble a squad that was going places.
The team we had under Rhino Macca were a fantastic bunch of players. We had a great bunch of players. We had a lot of youngsters with some good pros in there as well, and we were very close-knit group of players. We used to socialise a lot together. We were similar age, so we used to do similar things, from silly things like going to the cinema and going bowling to going out drinking together and going for meals together. So we were very, very close. We knew that after the year we got to Wembley, we had a great opportunity to build in this squad. Rhino and Macca were very encouraging in the sense they wanted us to play a certain way. We had to play the Millwall way. We had to give the fans what they wanted to see, and they would, as they kept saying, they would teach us how to do that, how to succeed at Millwall. And I think with Bob Pearson in the background, sort of bringing the young players through, we knew we had the chance that this team could go places. But until you actually start playing games and winning games and looking at the league table and doing well, that you deep down you don't really believe, we don't really see where the plan's going. But the 99-2000 year when we got to the playoffs and we got beat by Wigan over the two legs was a big turning point, not just in my career, but I think in a lot of players who have gone on to do well in their careers. It was a big season for us. Scoring 18 goals the season before was, people were always going to say, is he a one-season wonder? Can he go on and do it the second year? Can he break the 20 goals? No one has scored 20 goals since Teddy. It was challenges put in front of me all the time, but I'd had it all my life. I wanted to prove to myself that I could score goals as much as I needed to prove to anybody else. So I always pushed myself. And the season highlights started very early on when we were 3-0 down at home to Wigan. And we got back to 3-0, and people started saying, this team's got character, or we can score goals, and what can we do? And the momentum just slowly built through the season. As I tend to quite often, had quite a slow start in the goal scoring charts at the start of the season, but I think once I'd scored, heading towards Christmas, been scoring goals, and certainly scored my first hat-trick at Brentford, it was then that people started saying, he's a natural goal scorer, he's going to score goals at this level, can he get 20? Can he be the next Teddy Sheringham?
This, though, was the Neil Harris show, and the Lions' top scorer gave a masterclass in finishing to demonstrate why he's become such a hot property. His first goal was a right-foot volley. The second goal followed a corner, and this time Harris hooked it home with his left foot. Goal number 3 was just a tap-in, really, as the ball eventually broke to him. Good work there from Livermore, The ball coming back off the keeper. Oh, he did have to round the keeper and side-foot it in from a tight angle. Perhaps not anybody could have done that. A hat-trick for Neil, and well deserved.
The 3 goals at Brentford were goal scorers' goals, as far as I'm concerned. These two close finishes in the third, going around the goalkeeper, they were extremely important goals, because I think it was the second one took me to 20 goals for the season, which hadn't been done since Teddy Sheringham. So that was a big landmark for me, and again just another sort of notch on the belt to prove to people that I can cut it at this level.
The campaign was a personal high point for Neil, who ended with 25 goals to his name. But a playoff semi-final defeat at the hands of Wigan Athletic left the Lions still in Division 2.
The playoff semi-final defeat against Wigan was a bitter pill to swallow. It was tough. We got so close. We was a young squad, so we took things quite hard at the time. But I think we'd shown everybody that season how good we were going to be, and how much we needed another rest, another pre-season, another strengthening season, and it was fun. Again, it was another experience of a year's football for us. We done extremely well as a team, but we were slightly missing something, a little bit of experience, a little bit of leadership, and it was a great year. But at the end of the season, we sat in the dressing room very deflated, very upset. And Theo come in and said, "You've done ever so well. Everyone's extremely proud of you. But look at yourselves. Look at yourselves as individuals. Look at your teammates. Go away, think about it all summer, how close we got, and next year believe that we're better than the teams that have gone up this year. Come back next year and it'll happen for us."
It did indeed happen for Millwall the following season, as they finished Division 2 champions, but there were casualties along the way.
Losing Rhino Macca was a big disappointment to the players. It was something at the time that, even though we were young, we felt extremely responsible for. We know managers pick the team, they have to put the side out, they have to prepare the team, but then there's the players out on the pitch that put in the performances. And yeah, there's factors surrounding performances, but the players, there's so much respect for the 2 guys, because that they were the guys that had brought the players through, and it was extremely disappointing that we couldn't get the results to keep them in the job and have them take us to where we wanted to be. We took that personally, and we decided once they had gone that, you know, if we carry on like this, it's going to be too late. We're going to let everybody down. We felt we'd let Rhino Macca down to a certain degree, but that's got to be it now. We've got to make sure that we sort ourselves out. And I think that season, with injuries and suspensions, and as soon as Mark took over, he had a fully fit squad and players back available again, and things just fell into place. And then really it was just like a steam train from then on. Mark came in, I think you speak to Mark, he just came in, took over, and let the boys get on with it. We had a team that, certainly had a squad that picked itself. We had a team that was very close to picking itself, with the odd altercation here and there. Ray Harford was a true gentleman in football. He was a fantastic coach. I've never worked under a coach or a manager who's made things so simple for players. And he was a massive factor in the results we got on the pitch. Was Ray's training methods, Mark's man management skills, and Steve Gritt was a fantastic organiser. He was, again, possibly I've never met anybody so popular in the dressing room as Steve Gritt. And when you're talking about a management setup of that magnitude, and the quality of player we had, it was only fitting that we should win a league title under them.
I mean, he was a guy that was getting the goals, and he was getting important goals, you know, when a game was tight, and you know, he was getting the 1-0s, or he'd get the first goal, you know, in a tight game. He scored some fantastic goals, you know. He didn't. He worked hard for the team. He became a bit of a kind of talisman as well for the supporters, you know. So he was hugely influential in our promotion season.
During that season, there was a lot of games, a lot of games. We won a lot of games so comfortably in that division that it was breeding confidence in a confident squad anyway. And to beat teams 4-0s, 5-0s, things like that. I remember we beat Oxford 5-0 at home, and we possibly could have won the game 10-0. And to do that in a league fixtures is phenomenal. But we had some massive games. I remember we went to Reading in the sort of second half of the season, and we were there or thereabouts with them. And it was, I think, if they had beat us, they would have been top. If we won, we bridged the gap on them. And it was a bizarre game because we were 4-0 up after 5 minutes into the second half. And it was important for me because I scored a hat-trick, but it was a massive game for Mark because he had got awful stick in the press. I remember we was on the pitch, and the fellow on the tannoy was trying to whip the crowd up to be against Mark McGee. And we were like, this isn't right, hang on a minute. And we went out there and played some fantastic football and showed some class that was way above the level we was playing at the time. And that was a big turning. We come off that pitch, ended up winning 4-3, and we sat in that dressing room extremely disappointed because we should have come off that pitch winning 4-0 or 5-0. And what we said was that it was a fantastic performance, a great win, but the level the squad was playing at the time and the consistency we were showing and the sort of character we had in the dressing room was that we were disappointed because we let 3 goals in the last 5 minutes of the game, where everybody would pick the paper up and say 4-3, that's close. We should have come off winning 4-0 or 5-0 and made everybody take note of what a good side we were.
I mean, there were some games we just had to get the ball in his general area, and so many times he's going to get a goal from nothing. He was that good. He is that good. There were so many times we were getting win bonuses purely because of what he did in the game. So great to play with.
If you speak to any lads from our team, the team that won the league, we've all gone on to different to play with different teams, and we've all said we meet up at least once or twice a year, the whole team, and we all say that nowhere, and I don't think anyone we speak to had a better team spirit than that team, and it was a pleasure and a joy to come in training and play every game, and it was literally 15, 16 mates playing together. I don't think Sunday team football could have a better team spirit than we had.
Your teammates are everything for a centre forward. You know, Pele, Maradona, they might pick the ball up, go past 4 or 5 players and score, and they might do that 20 times a season. But Neil Harris doesn't do that, and most other players don't do that, don't make goals themselves, the odd goal here and there. So your teammates are everything, and you rely on your teammates to make your chances. When you're playing alongside quality of Paul Moody and Richard Sadlier, is fantastic. They were making huge amount of goals for me. Just the presence on the pitch, I would find myself space because defenders would be so worried about marking them too. And most of the time it was Paul Moody, and we had an understanding and a partnership that just clicked. Moods didn't run a lot, but he scored his fair share of goals, and he was a handful on the pitch. He left me to do the running and the donkey work, and he looked after me. If there was any trouble, he sorted it out. He was just perfect for the side at the time. We just needed somebody like Moods to spearhead the attack, and he was a good senior professional and a handful. year we got promoted, this was a fantastic place to play. It's a great atmosphere. It's a tough place for opposition teams to come and play at the Den when we give the fans something to cheer about, when the place is rocking. To be on this pitch is, there's no better stadium to play at. Me personally, I love playing here. I love attacking this end, attacking the south stand. Obviously, this goal here, I would imagine I've scored a lot more goals in this goal than anywhere else in the country. There's no better feeling than sticking the ball in the net in front of your own fans. When we went into the new year, the promotion winning season, somebody said to me, "We'll get promoted this year, and it'll be at Wrexham, because it is typical Millwall. We couldn't do it with a home game. We couldn't do it with a local derby. It has to be 250 miles away." And the closer and closer we got, I kept thinking to myself, "It's going to be Wrexham. It's going to be Wrexham." And as it turned out, it was Wrexham away. We got promoted, and it was a fantastic day. You could sense in the build-up, the crowd congestion, because there were so many Millwall fans there trying to get in all over the ground. You just knew in the week leading up to it, we were going to get promoted that day. Whatever happened on the pitch that day, we were going to get promoted. And as it turned out, it was one hell of a party, especially on the way home. It was great. 4,000 Millwall fans, Wrexham away at the end of the earth. It was fantastic. It's testimony to the fans that come and support us week in, week out. And it set us up for a big party the week after at Oldham, here at the Den, and that was a special occasion. That day we'd already been promoted. We could really let ourselves go. We could play attacking football, and people seem to forget as we were playing against quite a good Oldham team at the time who had done well, and we played them off the park. It was 5-0, and we could have been looking at more goals, but that at the time that was the difference between that Millwall team and the players in that team and the rest of the league.
But Stephen Reid helps out and gets it back to Lawrence. Lawrence does well and just gets it to Robbie Ryan, whose right foot, which is normally the standing foot, gets it away. Now Moody through ball to Harris. One-on-one situation here. Harris tries a little dig, and Harris has scored! Neil Harris makes it 2-0, and surely the Lions now are on their way to the championship trophy. That was an absolutely brilliant and exquisite chip from Millwall's top scorer, his 27th goal of the season, and it puts the Lions right in the box seat for that championship of the second division. Can the Lions really finish the job in some style? Ball played deep, looking for Bertram, who's made a great run. Bertram takes it in his stride, really perhaps needed to get a shot away, goes down. It's a penalty! It's a penalty as Bertram goes down, and I don't think it was a penalty, to be perfectly honest, but the referee has pointed to the spot following that challenge from Sheridan. And Neil Harris has grabbed the ball already, but Moody is on a hat-trick. Moody is the cry, but of course Neil Harris he wants to beat that Jamie Curitan record, doesn't he? And
we don't know how many goals Curitan's
got. We don't know how many goals Curitan's got, but the question is, does Neil Harris let Paul Moody take it? No, I think Neil is going to have it. Lucas Neil is going to have a word. He's being told to go away, and well, Neil, this would be, 28 for the season, would it? Let's hope he buries it, because otherwise Moody will be on his case. So Neil Harris in injury time at the end of this game. Can he make it 5? Harris scores it! And Millwall wrap it up here at the Den. It's Millwall 5, Oldham Athletic 0. The Lions round the season off in style. They have landed the second division championship trophy, which will be presented in a matter of minutes after the final whistle. Neil Harris 2, Paul Moody 2, Stephen Reid with maybe the pick of the bunch. This has been a magnificent party.
You scored 2 goals in that game. But you had to get a favour off your strike partner in order to get the second.
Yeah, 4-0 at home. My strike partner and a good mate of mine sitting on a hat-trick. Normally I'd throw him the ball in the last minute because I was the penalty taker and it was my decision, but I'd throw him the ball and say, "Hey, big man, go get your hat-trick." But I had something more important to play for me personally, and that was the Golden Boot, and I wanted to be the #1 striker in the division, and I just said to him, "Look, you can have it if you really want it, but I really want it. And he just said to me, Chopper, it's all yours.
That's right. I think Neil and I were both on 2 goals apiece at the time, and I was a regular penalty taker. But I think as soon as I picked the ball up, Neil came over and reminded me that he was on the needed another goal for the golden boot. So out of the kindness of my heart, I let him take it.
But as it turned out, it was so important, because if I hadn't taken the penalty, then I wouldn't have won the golden boot. So it was something that Moose forgave me for pretty quickly. But obviously it was an accolade that means so much to me.
So Chopper and Millwall on top of the world and looking forward to life in Division 1. But suddenly he was hit by some devastating news.
After we won the league, we went away, as we had done every year, as a group of players. We went away to Tenerife and had probably the best 4 days away you could ever have. We had a real good laugh. Got rid of all the cobwebs. We had a real good time, and you come back thinking, right, you've done it, your boozing's over, let's start thinking about next year. Family holidays, going away, thinking about next season. And to be diagnosed with testicular cancer at that stage was a life-changing experience, obviously, but a huge blow, not just to me, but obviously to the club, to the team, to my teammates, to my family, to my friends. It was to everybody, and it was just going from one extreme to the other, and it was life-shattering. And 1 minute scoring 28 goals and winning a golden boot and being in the PFA team of the year, and then going to standing in a hospital room with a doctor saying, having to say to him, what's the chances of survival? It's very surreal and extremely hard to take when you're sort of 23 years of age.
When we got promoted, I promised him a new contract, and I'd just given him that new contract, and he was the happiest boy in the world. And I said, are you happy? He said, I am ecstatic. Millwall have been promoted, I've got a new contract, I feel on top of the world. And I went off to Cyprus to see my mother, who was poorly, and I got a phone call from him, and he hit me with the news. And I've got to say, I was dumbstruck. I couldn't actually speak. 1 minute he's the happiest lad in the world, and the next minute he's fighting for his life. It was an amazing roller coaster ride.
When you could really take in what was being said, my first 2 questions were, will I live, and will I play football again? And when Des Thompson, who was the doctor at the time for the club, said to me, I can't answer them without looking at further test results, it really hits you that the first 2 things I've thought of, obviously 2 very important things, and is my health, and secondly is my footballing career. And all the time I'm thinking, will I play again? Will I get a chance to step foot in front of the fans? Will I get a chance to score again at the Den? Will the fans sing your name again? Things like that. And it sounds crazy when you think about it, but it's something you take for granted. But at these stages, there are thoughts in your mind, and you have to accept they are the questions you have to ask. As soon as things started progressing and I had my treatments and operations, it was a case football was getting nearer. It was always edging closer. The team were doing really well, and I took great satisfaction and great enjoyment in watching my teammates do so well. And a lot of people are really bad watchers. I enjoy watching my teammates when I'm not playing. Obviously I'd rather play, but I enjoy watching them, especially when they do well, because I know how hard they work for their success. And to watch that, it was great to watch, but always me want to be out there. And then there's other people saying, don't push it, you can't rush these things.
Well, I remember I was in Glasgow actually when I got the phone call to tell me, the news, and it was devastating, because I had visions of my team for that season in the Championship, back in the Championship, and Neil was going to be a huge part of that, and to know at that stage we weren't going to have him already, it put a downer on the season. But Neil's resolve and his determination, and he had family around him, and he had great support from the people at Millwall, from the chairman Theo Pafitis, and from the medical staff, and from the players, but he was a strong character himself, and there was absolutely no doubt that he would overcome that problem, and when he did, obviously everyone was hugely relieved, and he came back as strong as ever.
I remember when I first heard the news about Neil, my brother rang me. We'd been to Tenerife only like a week before, and then I was in Japan playing in the Confederation Cup, and my phone in the hotel went about 3 a.m, and it was to tell me that Neil had testicular cancer, and I was devastated. And I think it affected all the lads in different ways, and I think we helped Neil when he first come back by a bit of joking and taking the mickey out of him, because I don't think that's what we'd have done with Neil anyway, taking the mickey out of his clothes, out of his hairstyle, and if we'd have changed that, I think it would have felt awkward. So he come in, he cracked a few jokes, we cracked a few with him, and then that was it, forgotten about.
When I came back from the illness and I was training and looking to get back involved, we had no real time scales to what was right and what was wrong. It was purely based on my physical and mental strength and how I felt, and nobody had worked with cancer recoverers before, and professional athletes who were coming back from sort of illnesses and things. So it was sort of a learning curve for everybody, and I was I was a little bit naive. I came back too soon at first, but it was me just wanting to be involved, to be back part of the team, to show everybody that I'm fit and healthy and I'm a football player again rather than a cancer sufferer. And the first game I came back, it was unbelievable. When I stepped foot out of that dugout, I think after about an hour of the game, and a place erupted, and talking about it now, it sends shivers down my spine and things, and it was fantastic. That moment wasn't just for me, it was for my family and my friends, it was for everybody at the club, it was for the fans, and I think it was just a massive relief for everybody to see me back in a Millwall shirt again. And the moment I ran on the pitch was frightening. I could see the look in the players' eyes and my teammates' eyes that they were as pleased with me as I was myself, and the fact that we 1-0 down when I went to warm up, we won the game 3-1, tells another story as well.
Well, my most memorable goal has got to be that iconic goal he scored at Watford. I think we beat them 4-1, and it was his first goal back from his fight with testicular cancer.
Watford away, New Year's Day 2002 was a remarkable moment in my career. One of my favourite highlights of my life. It was not only it was my first goal back after cancer, but it was a massive day for the club, because we'd gone to a very, very good team and played them off the park for 90 minutes and won 4-1. But for me, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I spoke to Mark in the morning because I was struggling with flu and hadn't trained for a couple of days, and he said, "Look, come and sit on the bench, and if you get on, if you needed, come on. But if not, just sit there and make the numbers up, basically." So I did, and with a couple of minutes to go, he said, "Go on, Stevie needs a rest. Go on, just go on for 5 minutes. Keep the ball in the corner, and get yourself a goal." And as it turned out, I got myself the goal, and the celebration afterwards, when to be in front of 3,000 or 4,000 Millwall fans, to be lifted by your teammates above their shoulder. There's no greater honour on the pitch than that in football for me, and it's a moment that was extremely special in my life.
It was just awesome. Everybody ran to him from all around the pitch and lifted him up, hoisted him above their shoulders, and walked him around the pitch. And Warner as well, and as you know, he didn't move around very fast in those days. And in my mind, I've still got that picture, and I've actually got the picture on my wall at home, and it's signed by all the players. And to me, that forever will show the courage of Neil Harris.
He come back from his cancer. That's the one that probably sticks out more than any. The celebrations that day were, what Neil Harris is about and what our team spirit was about at that time.
When the ball was cleared to me, sort of about 20 yards from my own goal, I just thought, well, what am I going to do with it? There's no one really in front of me, so I just started running. And as I was running, I remember the Watford lad who was next to me just sort of half give up, and I just thought, well, I'll just keep running. And when I kept running, the defender in front of me, Neil Cox, he just kept backing off, and it wasn't until I got to within sort of 25 yards, I thought I could have a shot here. And it was just in that split second, I thought I'm going to cut in and go for the trademark Neil Harris, and that's what I did. And I caught the ball well, and it flew into the corner. And the feeling was I suppose a little bit of relief. Just the adrenaline rush was the same as whenever you score a goal, but it was just a surreal moment. The next thing I know is the lads were putting me on their shoulder, and I remember watching the commentary afterwards of the game when I watched it late, and it was Neil, and he ran and he runs and he runs, and it was spot on really. It was just Forrest Gump. I was just running and running until I got near the goal.
Neil was still battling his way back to full match fitness, but making a goal-scoring contribution along the way as Millwall finished 4th in Division 1 and reached yet more playoffs.
Yeah, we were riding the crest of a wave at the time. Well, it speaks for itself, and I said a million times, the quality we had in that team was frightening. We had players who knew sort of no boundaries, could just push themselves week after week. Just performance levels got better and better throughout the season, and we had big time players as well who could produce goals when needed, and we had a solid back line and terrific keeper between the sticks, and we were a really, really big, strong, solid side, and I was disappointed to miss a lot of it. I think Richard Sadlier played a massive part that season and really came to the forefront to show what a player and future he had in the game, which was sadly taken away from him. But maybe with a little bit more luck and a little bit more experience, we could have been in that top 2. Just at a time when we really needed to kick on, we just couldn't go that extra step. And as it happened, we were beat by Birmingham in the playoffs, which cruel turn of events, because for so much of the time we looked the better team, and we just missed out again. And as it turns out, for a long time, it was as close as we could get to the Premiership.
At the time, hopes and expectations were high that this impressive young side could indeed take Millwall back to the top flight. But season 2002-03 was to be one of disappointment and unfulfilled potential.
We ended up in the top 10, just about. We was never really in the shout of the playoffs. We were just sort of in that regrouping stage, and we had some good performances along the way, and some of the players played extremely well that season, but we never really set the world alight. And even though we had a good finish, we ended up where we deserved to be that year.
The death of Ray Harford, the departure of Steve Gritt, left Mark McGee pretty much on his own. He brought in Archie Knox, but things didn't go well at the start of the following season, and it was almost inevitable the writing was on the wall for Mark.
It was. Again, we didn't have a terrific start in the 03-04 season, and we look at it, and when you're a player and you're not playing particularly well, you can be left out, or you can go out on loan for a month and get some practice and come back again, or be left out for a few months. When you're a manager and you have a bad few months, you end up losing your job, and I think that's what happened with Mark. Mark was fantastic for my career, simply because he taught me a lot as a centre forward. He was fantastic for a lot of the players. He brought us success, and rightly so. He'd be fondly remembered at Millwall because he won us promotion. So when he went, it wasn't a massive surprise again when a manager goes, but there was a lot of disappointment amongst a lot of the players, because we'd worked with Mark quite a long time, and there was a lot of respect for Mark and what he'd achieved and the person he was. But as soon as he went, the players were unanimous. They wanted Wisey. Wisey kept saying he didn't want the job, and we kept saying, you got to take the job. The players respect you. You're a legend as a player. You can do it. You'll have the support of the senior players. And he kept saying, I didn't want it. Then he took over.
Mark McGee brought Dennis Wise in as a player. What was the feeling in the dressing room when he first arrived?
When Wisey arrived, what have we got here? I think he was going to be. There was no in between for Dennis at Millwall. He was going to be straight away a legend at the club. I mean that loosely, so he was going to be a fan's favourite straight away, or it was going to go the other way. It wasn't going to work for him. But as soon as he came in, the boys took to him immensely. He was a fantastic character and a great leader in the dressing room, as you'd expect for somebody who served as Chelsea captain for so long. So he was great in the dressing room, and obviously by far the best player I've played with on the pitch. And I think it was just a natural progression for him to go into management. It was a fantastic time to be a player at the club because we were winning games. We was part of a fantastic league run after Christmas, and everything was fantastic. Our cup final was a semi-final against Sunderland. You know, we got the luck of the draw. There's no doubt in that. But Old Trafford, Sunderland semi-final of the FA Cup. What a day! What a day! What a night! It was fantastic. It summed Millwall up. It was perfect. The cup final was a tremendous occasion and a great day out. They were much better than us, Manchester United, as you'd expect. You know, fair's fair. They're a terrific team, a world-class team. But that year, I am one, as well as I know there's plenty of other people, Dennis included, I think if we hadn't had that cup run, if we hadn't picked up a couple of certain injuries to key players, we would have got promoted that year to the Premier League, and I for one firmly believe that. The FA Cup final firstly was an FA Cup final. It was just any English lad growing up knows what the FA Cup final means. It is tradition in this country. It's the FA Cup final, and to be part of it was immense. To put on that shirt that day and be part of the Millwall squad that went onto that pitch was an extremely monumental occasion and an extremely proud occasion for me, and something I'll never forget. We missed 3 or 4 of our best players, 3 or 4 of our leaders, not in the sense necessarily the best players, that they were the best, most talented players, but the system that Wisey wanted to play, the team set up, missing obviously Muzzy himself, our leader and our captain, was the biggest blow. Danny Dichio was, a centre forward, big, strong, horrible centre forward who scored goals. We missed him. We missed Andy Roberts' experience and passing ability. Wisey wasn't quite fit. Obviously, Tony Warner was injured, and you take those sort of players out of a team, let alone out of a squad, is extremely tough. And we believe if they were fit, our game plan could have been slightly different, and we could have given it a right go.
The consolation for defeat in the FA Cup final was qualification for Europe in the UEFA Cup for the first time in the club's 120-year history.
We were at the training ground before the draw, and we was talking about the teams in the competition, and Wisey says to the lads, the only team you don't want is Ferencváros from Hungary. They're the best team in it, and they're the only team we don't want to draw. Typical Millwall, the draw comes out, Ferencváros. Anything right, but we're in Europe, Millwall's in Europe, we'll give it a good go, see where it takes us. And we drew here at the Den in a game we clearly should have won. We gave a sloppy goal away, and we should have won the game. But we didn't, so we went there with a huge following of supporters who made a terrific amount of noise, and we enjoyed it. But we were outplayed on the evening by a very, very good European team. And it was disappointing to be out, but still can look back and say I'd represented the club I love playing for in Europe in the UEFA Cup. It wasn't a great season, for the club, and a great season for me. We were never sort of really in the running for promotion that year. And Wise had ideas. He wanted to bring in his own players, and he needed to bolster the squad. He needed more senior players. And as it happened, he just made it clear from the start that he was prepared to give other people a game. And it might mean me fighting from place, which I never have a problem with. And as time went by, it was more and more obvious that his idea was bringing players in to play in front of me. And I was disappointed. I kept going, and as hard as you tried, it never really made too much difference. And when I was playing, I wasn't playing particularly well. And had various conversations with Wisey. We never fell out. We were very, very good mates as players, and we never fell out. And I had still have obviously a lot of respect for him. And he just said to me, look, you're not going to be an automatic choice. You've always been number one striker at Millwall. If you want to go and get some action somewhere else, you know, I'm happy for you to do so. And if you want to come back, you know, great, come back fit and full of confidence. And as soon as my name was circulated, you know, I had an A4 list of clubs I could have gone to and played for. I chose Cardiff because I knew Tony was down there, and Lenny Lawrence made it clear that he wanted me to go and play, and he wanted to sign me permanently. And in a sense, I went to Cardiff because it was a lot like Millwall, and it was. I went and had a look, and I thought, well, I go and have a game and see what it's like. And as soon as I went, Nottingham Forest made it clear they wanted to take me as well. So obviously after a couple of weeks, it was a case of speaking to Dennis and Ray, and they thought it was best that I had a fresh start and went and played somewhere else. As soon as they said that I wasn't going to be an automatic choice, I could stay to the end of my contract, but I might not be offered a new deal in the summer. I had to put my footballing commitments first, certainly my professional pride of wanting to play football and play football week in, week out, and put that first. And it was one of my toughest decisions ever to leave the club and go somewhere else, but at the time it made perfect sense. My first part of my career finished against Cardiff, and I come on at half time and scored a header, and it was great because Tony Warner was in goal for them, so it was great getting one past him, but it also equalled the league goal scorer's record. And at the time it was a shame because I was leaving equal league goal scorer with Teddy, but like I said, I had to go for footballing reasons. The day I left the club, the first time was, I always said I'll be back. I always had unfinished business to come back and sort of attend to. So I knew I'd always come back. It was just a matter of timing. And the time away at Nottingham Forest was great in the sense that I played for different managers. I played under a fantastic manager in Colin Calderwood. Met some terrific friends. Lived in a different city for a while, and it was good. But footballing wise was a disaster, and I didn't really enjoy it. It was crazy, but playing in front of 20,000 people every week was very different to playing in front of 10,000. The 10,000 at Millwall make a lot more noise than 20,000 did, and I just couldn't really adapt to playing there. I certainly enjoyed my loan spell at Gillingham. It served a purpose at the time. Locality was near home, and I got some minutes on the pitch, and that was important for me. But when I went back to Forest, I enjoyed it more second time, going back and playing more regularly. But when the call came from Willie, do I want to come back and play? It was a 2-minute conversation between me and Willie, saying, yeah, okay, if I can sort it out at the Forest end, I would love to come. Okay, I'll tell the chairman you're coming. And that was it. It was done. It was 2 minutes, a few loose ends to tie up, and that was it, and I was coming back. It was something I thought about time and time again over the years, and I thought, would I ever get the chance to do it again? So the game against Rotherham, when it came round, and it was such a buzz. The buzz around the ground was there for everybody to feel. The other players were saying to me, you coming back's made a difference. There's a real buzz around the place. There's a lot of focus on you, but it's a good focus. It's important for the team. There was a real high.
It's Millwall 1, Rotherham United 0, and the history man becomes the all-time Lions leading league goal scorer.
People were saying to me, there's been a lot of, obviously Robbo and Tony Craig, two of my pals there from before, were saying to me there's been a real negativity around the place this season, and rightly so, because we've been support. But today, it all seems to have been lifted.
Neil Harris, nice touch from him to Brammer, who first time plays it out to the far side. Smith's got Tony Craig outside him. Instead he goes for the diagonal ball for Huberts, who's got his eye on it, gets it down to Alan Dunn. Dunn just couldn't get it going in the right direction for a shot, so he gives it back to Huberts again. Huberts puts across it to the far post, and there's Neil Harris! And Harris scores the goal against his former club. That was the one he was looking for. It was a superb cross from the right-hand side from Paul Huberts, and Neil Harris rises at the far post to nod it past Paul Smith. It's Millwall 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
Scoring against your old club is always nice, and I feel like I had a point to prove to Nottingham Forest. It wasn't particularly a happy time for me, and I certainly didn't score the goals that I wanted to score. So being given the opportunity to play against them so soon after leaving was an opportunity that I thought, well, I'm not going to let this pass me by. And to score past them was a sweet moment for me, especially being the winning goal.
Both Chopper and the team finished the season in fine form, and expectations were very high at the start of the 2007-8 campaign. However, those hopes were soon to be dashed, and there was shortly to be a change of management.
The new manager comes in, new ideas, different style of play, wants to bring in new players, and that's football. And Kenny was the same when he came in, and I didn't play too much. When I did, I found myself in there now, and it was hard, and it was frustrating for me. But not once did I ever want to leave the club. And sometimes if you just keep plugging away, you get the rewards at the end of it. And we was towards the end of the season, and players had been injured and things, and Kenny just said, look, I want you to play, go out there and play, and I did, and the Carlisle game in particular was the one I think where I proved my worth to the manager, and it was a big highlight of my career, that, because it looked like I was going to be out the door and going in different directions to the club, but I proved my worth, and it's nice when you have something to prove and you come out on top, and that game was, in a sense, it was a massive game for the club, because, believe it or not, Millwall's a big club, and we was right in trouble of going into the bottom division, and that's not where the club belongs, and I didn't want to see the club go there, and I thought, right, if I can help in any way, I'm going to drag everybody with me, and it was a good day. It was a day to take the pressure off, and a day for Neil Harris to prove a point. And I think the point was proven, and it wasn't obviously long after that I got to sign a new deal and hang around for a little bit longer.
It had been a long, eventful journey from Neil's first goal back in 1998 to his 106th in 2008. But with a new deal signed, Neil could now set his sights on Teddy Sheringham's all-time goal-scoring record for Millwall.
Teddy's goal-scoring record had always been a huge focus of mine. Wasn't always the be-all and end-all, until I got extremely close to it. It was something that so many people, in particular the fans, had wanted me to get for so long. And Teddy was a servant to English football, second to none. He was a fantastic player, achieved so much in the game. And to be put on a pedestal, albeit for Millwall, alongside Teddy, was a fantastic feeling and somewhere I wanted to be. And to get so close and then look like you might not get the chance to do it was something that really concerned me and upset me. And when I did sign a new contract and stay, it was something I wanted to get to as quickly as possible, and if I could stay free from injury and play games, I knew I'd get the goals. Equal the record at Walsall was, it gave me an opportunity to pass a tribute to my father, who died while I was away at Nottingham Forest, and I know it would have been an extremely proud moment for him, so I decided to celebrate with a t-shirt saying, "It's for you, Dad." That was nothing to take away from the fact every goal I've always scored for this club has been not just for myself and my family, but it's been for the Millwall fans. been massive pressure, to be fair. I try to play it down and try to not get involved in the talk of it, but it's been a big pressure, and I felt it in games, and I felt it at home, and probably more so than anything I've ever done in my life. Obviously, I've got the T-shirt for my dad because obviously, as most people know, he's not with me anymore. But yeah, it's just obviously a big thank you to him because he introduced me to football, and yeah, if it wasn't for him, maybe I wouldn't be here today. And then Crewe away, bizarre, it wouldn't have been my first choice location to have done it, but it didn't matter. It was, to me, it's always been about number one. I wanted to be number one. I wanted to be where I felt I deserved to be. I've always been a winner throughout my career, and to be a winner, you have to be the best. So delighted. It's been a while coming. I'd like to have done it slightly sooner, but I'm so excited by it. To be number one outright, it was great to equal it and be with Teddy, but now surpassing him, a man of his stature, he's awesome. I've not finished. I want a lot more. I want to keep going. I want to extend the record, and hopefully I'll be given the chance to do that.
Chopper found the best possible way to extend that record and stake his claim for another new contract at Hartlepool in March 2009. Coming on as a second-half substitute with the Lions 2-0 down, Neil turned the game on its head with a classic hat-trick, his first for 8 years and his 5th in all.
What he's done for the club first off, and what he brings to us. He's worth his extra year, his extended contract, he's worth his testimonial. I think that people will recognise that, and also his contribution on and off the field to our push and improvement of the club has been considerable, and I want that to continue.
Former colleagues and legendary Lions joined with the fans at the Den for the Tranmere game in January 2009 to pay tribute to the club's #1 marksman. Paul Moody, Richard Sadlier and Millwall's longest-serving player Barry Kitchener presented Neil with an award to mark his first 112 goals. Over the past decade, Neil has been involved in 2 playoff campaigns, celebrated 1 promotion, 2 cup finals and played in Europe. Who knows where the story of this phenomenal striker will end?
But great fella to have around the place, not only on the pitch, and I know people often say it and it's kind of banded about easily enough, but he's a kind of fella who does inspire you to be around if you're around him long enough, and particularly the various times we had over the years. The way he handles himself and the way he deals with a lot of the things that he's had to deal with, he's a genuine legend, as you said.
Yeah, well, if you go back over all those years, the Barry Kitcheners, the Harry Cripps, actually it's quite interesting, and Neil falls into that category. The interesting thing is that I've been there when Teddy's been booed, which I always thought was a bit over the top. I've never heard Neil being booed, and I think what people like about Neil is, of course, the illness helped, but before then he never gave up. You never saw Neil doing just enough to persuade us that he was a good player. He would always run into places where nobody else would run, and I think above all things Millwall fans appreciate that.
I don't believe that Neil could have made it happen in any other team or any other club. It just wouldn't have happened for him. The emotional tie with Millwall runs all the way through him. I don't think it can be motivated in the same way as he can with Millwall.
And he's another one of us, really. He loves the club and wants to stay as long as he can, and I'm so glad and pleased for him that he's got that record, because no one else deserves it more than him.
I think he's got a good few years left in him yet. He's, like I say, he's still got that energy, he's still got that infectiousness for scoring goals and that enthusiasm to come out on a Saturday, produce for Millwall Football Club, and I'm sure we'll be seeing him here for a good few years yet.
But if your record is going to go, it's a fantastic person to go to. He's had a lot of troubles in his life, and to beat his testicular cancer is fantastic, and I'm really proud that I'm handing over my record to someone like Neil Harris. Yeah.
To do it and be able to celebrate with fans and teammates was awesome, and it's just something I'm so proud of and honoured to be Millwall's #1 of all time. Is something I can look back on in future years with immense pride.
What Harris can see, but he curls it, and it's in the bucket again, and Neil Harris has scored against his former club. On the edge of the box, he switches it in. Harris first down. Now Moody through ball to Harris, one-on-one situation here. Harris tries a little dig, and Harris has scored!
During my career, I've been extremely fortunate and very privileged to have played so many games and scored so many goals for Millwall. So sit back and enjoy another opportunity to see my 112 goals, which makes me a very proud record holder.
In his 340th game for Millwall, Neil Harris became the club's all-time leading goal scorer, grabbing his 112th in the last round of the Cup.
I knew it was going to feel good, but I didn't realise how good it would feel. When you score a goal, the adrenaline rush is frightening. It's like nothing else you can experience. But this just had the added bonus. Normally after you score, it takes you a few seconds to come down and you need to get your breather, but this took me 10 minutes afterwards, things going through my head. It's to write my history and part of this club. It means so much to me. I'm so proud, so honoured. I wanted to be number one. I have done for a long time. I wanted to be number one here. I'm finally doing it. Yeah, it's ecstatic.
His achievements are all the more impressive, considering he's come back after suffering from testicular cancer.
First goal back after fighting cancer was a pivotal goal in my life, not just in my footballing career. It meant so much to me. It was really special, very special moment for me. And when I scored, every player in my team celebrated with me, including the goalkeeper at the other end of the pitch, and lifted me above their shoulders. And I think as a player, to have that done to you by your fellow professionals is the biggest honour you can have on a football pitch.
So whose record did he break? A certain Teddy Sheringham, who learnt his trade at the Den over 7 years, before going on to enjoy huge success with Spurs, Manchester United and England.
I know he's pleased for me. I know he knows it had to go at some stage, but I think him being a winner and being a goal scorer, he'd be disappointed that he has gone.
I suppose so, in a way, but you know, if your record is going to go, it's a fantastic person to go to. He's had a lot of troubles in his life, and to beat his testicular cancer is fantastic, and I'm really proud that I'm handing over my record to someone like Neil Harris. Yeah.
They're flying in the league right now, and don't forget that Harris played in the 2004 Cup final against Manchester United, and he would love to do it all over again.
You know, there's a big part of me thinks that was once in a lifetime opportunity. You know, to be part of the club of Millwall stature going to playing an FA Cup final is, you know, it's an achievement in itself, and I'm so proud to say I was part of that, and no one can ever take that away from the squad who were here at the time, or take it away from the fans that were there.
Ironically, the keeper Harris will be trying to put one past today is Matt Duke, who suffered from the same condition as he did. The pair raise awareness about the disease together and do an annual run with cancer charity Everyman.
For me, it's saving that one life. It's finding that one person who's got a tumour, who maybe goes to the doctor a week, 2 weeks, a month before maybe they would have done before it was too late.
Number 5 in the list of my 5 favourite goals of all time has got to be the championship winning year against Oldham. We had so many good goals that year, and we had such a splendid team that it was only fitting that the last game of the season, when we win the league, that I pick my favourite goal from that season and my 5th favourite of all time. As I go through on goal, natural instinct takes over as a striker, and as I see the goalie approaching, I just think, hit the target, chip the keeper. Goal 4 in my list is Tranmere away in the FA Cup quarter-final. It was a terrific team goal. It was a great build-up and obviously a sweet volley by myself. It was not only an important goal at the time, but we knew Sunderland were awaiting in the semi-final, which gave the club the opportunity to reach the first FA Cup final. So to be part of that team, part of that squad, with a group of boys like that was an awesome experience. As we see the build-up, the one-touch passing, it's not just the left foot volley by myself that scores the goal. It's the pass and move by the boys. It's the set-up play by Big Danny Dichio. The third goal on my list is Northampton at home. It's my debut goal. It's a goal that lives long in my memory. Fond memories of that goal for me and my family. But it was a little bit of relief, a little bit of point proving to everybody. Not most myself and you guys, the fans, because I was the new kid on the block. I had a lot to prove, and you don't do it with one goal, but it's a good start. And if you watch the goal down the left wing cutting on my right foot, I think everybody knows where it's going to go, but it's the trademark Neil Harris finish. Goal 2, the runner-up, is my record-breaking goal. It's only second for one reason, and you'll see in a minute, but the goal meant everything to me. It was such a proud moment for myself and everybody connected with the club. It wasn't one of my prettiest goals. It was a striker's finish. It was, you know, what makes strikers what they are, instinct in the box. And again, it's a good team build-up, and it's a classic goal, but it was such a proud moment for me, and such an honour to become the number 1 of all time. My number 1 goal of all time, I don't think will surprise anybody. It was just a moment for me, but it was a moment for every fan, everybody associated with the club, everybody who knows me, and a lot of people who don't know me. It's been well documented, my story so far fighting against cancer, and not just the relief to score my first goal back after fighting the disease, but the reaction of my teammates said it all to be lifted above their shoulders is the biggest honour you can have on a football pitch. To do it in front of so many fans at Watford, to do it on New Year's Day, the turn of a new year, was surreal. The main reason this is my number 1 is not about what's happening on the football pitch, it's about my battle in life, and the two go hand in hand for me, and this was one of the greatest moments of my life.